Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 50 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 3. I can't believe it's already been 50 episodes, it's flown by, but here we are, and we're off the back of a very good episode at the Dutch Grand Prix. So if you did miss that one, uploaded yesterday, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But in that one, we came through for the big W. We came through for our second win of this season in very weird conditions, of course. We had two safety cars in that race, very much like the real-life Tuscan Grand Prix. So it was a bit hectic, but we made it through. We took advantage of the safety car period and went on those soft tyres, and we came out best and probably annoyed Verstappen, who in the end only came in third place after being beaten by Ricciardo as well, who did attack us on the last lap. So we had it all to, we had to fight for it all the way to the very end, but very decent win for us, and it's good to have two wins already under our belt, because at this point, this last season, we'd obviously lost to Sainz once for the race win at Zandvoort, and we had yet to get a singular win. So right now we've got a nice early healthy lead in the championship. Obviously though, it's so early on, so it doesn't really matter at this stage, but it's still going to be a positive. But you saw there, whilst we've been talking about that, in the background, went ahead and purchased an upgrade on the personnel front, the analyst suite, to try and improve the experience level of our teammate, whether it be Verstappen or in the future, of course, because these upgrades will stay with us now for the remainder of the entire career mode. So I didn't really feel like spending any money on any performance parts of the HQ just yet, because there's no need. We're not being bottlenecked. We're not really being hounded completely, and also we don't have a ton of money. I don't want to fancy spending 12 million or 15 million one big chunk. So the analyst seat was a little bit cheaper in that regard, but I may make a vote in a few episodes time about where we spend the next bit of big money on the HQ, and also potentially also where you guys think we should upgrade on the R&D. But for now, we'll leave it at that, and for now I am also comfortable with where the car is. We're plateauing a little bit here, along with Mercedes though, so that's not really a worry on paper, of course, but in reality it's a different story. McLaren looked very quick. If it wasn't for their crash, I reckon they would have been right up there fighting with us actually for the Dutch Grand Prix, and obviously at times Ferrari and Red Bull have looked quick respectively at certain different circuits, so it remains to be seen what's going to go on into this race weekend, the Spanish Grand Prix. We had this last season where obviously our car was very fast around Zandvoort and then was a little bit slower around Catalonia, so I'm not expecting the same bonkers pace from Verstappen or even just myself in the race, but I think we can go better than we did maybe in the last few seasons. The car's much better. It's got way more downforce now on it, which is one of the most important factors around Spain, but at the same time you need that speed, because you carry so much downforce here at Spain. You need the compromise of a decent engine also to power you through that last main straight. Speaking of that, we come through that final bend onto the main straight across the line in Q1 then. Very overcast here. There may be some rain in the skies to come, so we need to watch out for that, because it looks very doom and gloom. But right now, looking okay. We've qualified quite close to Verstappen there for the first time in a while in Q1, so that may suggest this time around that really is where the car is, because usually I'm just slower than Verstappen because I'm just slower in Q1, still getting used to the circuit. But that might indicate that's where the car is, which might be a little bit concerning for us being on the back foot, but not a massive surprise, just a bit annoying in a way. But let's see how we go through into the second session. That first lap, you can see we're actually on a set of medium tyres, because a load of people have tried on mediums, including Verstappen, Leclerc. I believe both Red Bulls have tried to qualify on the medium tyres, so I had to go with them. There's no way I wouldn't try and cover them off and try and match them on this. So can we try and get through into the third part of qualifying on the slower medium tyre? We haven't done this in a long while, or if ever really, in the last few episodes at the end of last season or into this one. At the end of the session, a load of people did go out again on soft tyres, so I was worried about getting knocked out. But as we go through to the results screen, you can see I just about get away with it. We qualify P10 to get us through into the last part of qualifying, but Ocon could have easily ruined my entire day there. Norris couldn't get through on a set of medium tyres. He had to go to a set of softs. He was also trying the medium strategy, so in the end he had to bail on that, so he'll have to be forced onto a two-stop maybe, as will both Mercedes cars. They're struggling so far this season. Both Valtteri and Lewis Hamilton had to go onto soft tyres, so the only guys with the advantage here are both myself and Verstappen in this aarava racing car, and the two Red Bulls. So it may be a straight four-man fight maybe in the race if there's no rain to come, because I suspect it should be a pretty okay one-stop from mediums to hards. And I think us four might be in a world of our own there. It's going to be a big advantage, I think, especially with the traffic, and also because the field's so close, with the two-stop, you are going to hit traffic. There's no way you don't. There's no way you're going to be faster. Anyone in the top 10 is not fast enough to outdrive that second pit stop, essentially, because the field is so tight. So it's going to be a big advantage. So I'm actually really happy for once that we managed to actually do that alternative qualifying strategy. But now it's time to try and do the business here in Q3. That lap was pretty decent compared to Verstappen, but overall our car seemingly a little bit slower compared to our competitors this race weekend, trying to find any sort of time. Purple first sector, but tyre on the grass, the rear end stepping, and now we've completely spun it and smashed it into the wall. Somehow not completely out of the session, but definitely a bit shaken there as I try and find the reverse gear to get the car turned round. And we go back to the pits then with our hands in our head. That is it. That first run will be the one that stands for us. And in the end, oh my god. Okay, I jinxed it. I said that first lap wasn't too bad compared to Verstappen, so it may just be our car. No, looks like our car's got the pace because Verstappen's just shown it. Where on earth does he pull that time out from? I hardly gain any time in Sector 1, so he must have gained like many tenths in Sector 2 and 3 or something, because I went purple in my first sector. So he must have just had a mega last two sectors, and he's on pole position. So Verstappen may be irked from losing his race win and even a top 2 position at the Dutch Grand Prix last weekend. I think he's wanting some revenge here with that qualifying statement. But for us, it's a real shame then. The car clearly had some pace to find, and if I hadn't dipped my tyre onto the right-hand side of the grass and then the rear end stepped out due to that, we may have found that time, or at least got closer to the front row. So instead, we're behind a load of our rivals, including Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, Ricciardo, Norris looking so strong as well, and P4 there in the McLaren. So we've got a lot of work to do. We're on the one stop though, so there are a lot of people around us on the grid that will be disadvantaged to that. So it's not going to be the worst fight back. As soon as they pit, we'll have clean air to work with. It's just about trying to keep our nose clean and getting to that point of the race.
The Spanish Grand Prix has been a permanent fixture on the Formula One calendar for over 30 years now, and for good reason. Do you remember Michael Schumacher's absolute dominance here in that rain-soaked Grand Prix in 1996? That day he took his first ever victory for Ferrari, and we've had many more iconic moments since. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya then, a high-speed 2.89-mile circuit which demands an efficient downforce package and bravery on the part of the driver, especially through the blind right of turn 9, which we might just see taken flat this weekend. Now, Anthony Davidson, I wonder, might we be in for some early pit stops today from the midfield teams, all trying to put some pressure on or disrupting things for the leaders up front?
If you're in the middle of the pack, you got your own race to run. I don't think they're going to be thinking about causing trouble up front. However, closer to the head of the pack, don't be surprised to see some split strategies. If you're running second and third, for example, bringing one car in for an undercut while leaving the other one out there longer can put a lot of pressure on the leader and maybe force them into an error.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Sainz, Norris, Valtteri Bottas and Leclerc, Hamilton, the owner-driver, De Vries and Daniel Kvyat, Ocon, Albon, Sergio Perez and Gasly, Russell, Matsushita, Lance Stroll and Kevin Magnussen. Giovinazzi, Aitken, Latifi and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track and get this Grand Prix underway.
Well, the skies are a lot sunnier on Sunday, so it seems like the rain is actually going to stay away. So we'll have a clean one-stop race. As I said, medium tire to hards. It's not often I've actually been talking about the alternative strategy. But for once, as I said, I'm happy that we did it and we managed to just about pull it off and make it through into the top 10 shootout. Not that it mattered that much in the end because we only qualified like 3 positions higher than P11, but it'll still work out for us. As I said, once those guys make that early pit stop, we'll be in clean air to hopefully catch up to the likes of Verstappen and the 2 Red Bulls in the form of Sainz and Ricciardo, and it may be a repeat of the end of the Dutch Grand Prix. It might be ourselves v Ricciardo and my teammate, and also Sainz paired in there as well, and who knows, the others, maybe they can make something work. We'll have to see, but for us, it's a big fight back today and trying to rectify the mistake in Q3. So here we go then towards 5 red lights. The Spanish Grand Prix, a little bit further back down the order than I wanted it to, but let's make up for it here today on Sunday. 5 lights are out, and we are underway, and I thought it was going to be potentially a slow start start for us because we're on the slower compounded tyre, but we manage to leapfrog both Hamilton and Leclerc. It's a long run to turn 1 though, and they're able to get alongside me. We're 3 abreast as Leclerc has to back out of that. We squeeze out Hamilton very aggressively, and Leclerc is able to overtake him with that. So we've got those 2 positions actually booked in. For a second I thought we might have to give it up, and in the lead is Daniel Ricciardo, the Red Bull. He's jumped Verstappen then, so our teammates lost it off pole. It's Ricciardo from Verstappen, Lando Norris, Sainz, Bottas and myself, and we're going to try and swap positions with Valtteri if we can on the outside. Having a look, of course, he is on the better compound, so at this stage I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to hold us, but our car is the better car on paper, and I think in reality, as we've seen so far this season, has been a calamity season for the Silver Arrows. So can we try and get Bottas early, and then that will release us into some clean air to try and race with the other people on mediums, because the only 2 people ahead of us right now on track, they're on softs now, are Bottas and Norris, because we overtook 2 other people on softs straight off the bat, off the 5 red lights, which was Leclerc and Hamilton. So if we can try and just keep in the toe here and make a bit of a late lunge, there we go. Very aggressive move under braking, but we get it. The confidence we have in this car right now is quite supreme indeed, and we're up into P5 then, and we can chase after Sainz. Meanwhile though, whilst we are chasing and closing up to Bottas, you may have heard briefly, Jeff did come on the radio and he said that Ricciardo has some sort of mechanical issue, so he's going to be slow in this race, as you can clearly see. And so Verstappen is going to try and retake the lead, and he does with ease. He's breezed past him. He's up into first, and Ricciardo may be looking at giving up all these positions, because now he's holding up Lando Norris and onto his teammate. We're closing right up. So after a decent opening lap, we've really been helped out by a little bit of luck here with Ricciardo being slow, because we're now right in the fight in the top 5, and we can get stuck in. His Sainz is getting held up by Ricciardo so much that I'm going to go around the outside and try a very audacious overtake on Sainz in the Red Bull, banging tyres a little bit on the exit using some overtake mode. You can see in the bottom right, having a look at my tyre, my engine temps this entire time, by the way, on the bottom right. Just wanted to kind of see and monitor the situation, because behind so many cars and dirty air, it's so easy to overheat your engine on this game. But we go for the move. It's going to be an easy one on Ricciardo, you would say. I mean, he does try and outbrake me actually, so fair play to him for fighting a little bit there, but in the end it's no use. So in the span of literally 1 lap, Ricciardo's gone down 3 positions. It'll be 4, I'm sure, by the end of lap number 5 onto 6, and sure enough it is. So at the moment then, Verstappen leads and he sets a new fast lap of the Grand Prix as Norris is in for his first pit stop. Remember, he's doing a 2-stop. We are not, along with our teammate and the 2 Red Bulls. So as it stands now, it's a 1-2 for the aarava Archer Racing team here. But we try our best to try and pressurize and close up what was about a 2.7 second gap to Verstappen. So we had no real, success doing that last episode. We had to wait for a very, lucky safety car to allow us to close up to Verstappen and overtake him. This time around, though, I feel like I have a bit more general consistent pace around Catalonia compared to Zandvoort, where I only had glimpses of some pace. Meanwhile, as we go on through this first stint, then you can see the remnants of those 2 stoppers coming in. That was De Vries and the Mercedes car, Hamilton, Bottas also in, and so you're left with this fight then between Esteban Ocon, that is, I think. He was outside the top 10, so he started P11, so he had a free choice of tyres. So Ocon's doing a 1-stop. His teammate, unfortunately, made it through into the top 10, so cannot. But Ocon's overtaken Ricciardo, so that's how slow Ricciardo's issue is making him then in this Grand Prix. A big shame for him, the man who nearly got first place off me last episode. But back to our race then, lap number 13, so a few laps since we got into second place, and we have started to close down the gap. It's now 1.8 to 1.5 there, as we now come in lap 13. I'm going to make the earlier pit stop. My engineers did ask me if I wanted to go later, but I thought, no, I want to get the undercut on Verstappen. He seems a little bit better on his tyres, it would seem, at least on these mediums. But I remember last season, the hard tyres were actually a really good race tyre around here. So looking forward to getting on those a little bit earlier than Verstappen. But yeah, we did an okay job, I think. We closed up the gap by 1 second, which I didn't think we were going to do. I thought Verstappen could have just waltzed away with that race. It's a bit of a slow stop though, 2.5, and I had a bit of a delay getting the gear in there. So hopefully that's not lost us too much time. But on the better race tyres, I said the hards, I think I'm confident of slowly reeling in Verstappen, for maybe the race lead and battling for potentially a second win win in a row. Let's see as we now come down the main pit straight. Lap 15, there is Verstappen. He's just coming out and into turn 1. We come in hot and we've got the momentum. Can we use that momentum though to go around the outside of turn 3, get the move? No, we don't. Verstappen holds position, but we use a good chunk of our overtake mode into turn 4. He's gone defensive. We go for the large lunge on the left-hand side, and we're not going to let him squeeze us off onto the grass like we maybe have done in the past with certain AI drivers. We get the elbows out. We get it really nitty-gritty. Some good fighting down the hill, and we're up into P1 by literally half a car length, but Verstappen keeps it on the outside. We have to leave him some space, but we're banging side pods now. It's getting a little bit too frosty maybe for my liking on as the team owner in the car, but we get the job and we look behind and Verstappen tucks in. But lap 16 onto 17, the job is not done there because we've got first place, but now we've used a lot of fuel. So you see we're in rich mix for most of that main straight, then I go into lean and a lift and coast. We need to do some big lifting and coasting now to save the fuel into the corners and then just use rich mix on the main straight to get away off that last corner. But in doing so, that's going to invite these guys in. Sainz in third place. He's got the fast lap of the Grand Prix now, so he's looking quick, as is these two McLarens. Ocon ahead of Norris. Remember, Norris on the 2-stop, so he's still got to make another stop, whereas Ocon is legit there in P4. And then way behind, the two Mercedes cars lying astern. Noah's Ark here, 2 Mercs and 2 Ferraris. Where on earth is the Ferrari pace gone? It's almost like they felt sympathetic for Mercedes as of late, because they look nowhere. They've got no pace in this race. Very, very baffling. So there's definitely some big question marks then to come away from this race with. But right now, focusing back on our fight, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix. But the pace right now is with Verstappen looking to make a move. We go defensive to the inside. We're going to keep him on the outside there. We'll have the better racing line. We have also subsequently set the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So I've been going quick. I've not been slow anymore. We saved the fuel. But Verstappen has just honestly kept up with me, even with some purple lap times. And now he's on the outside again for the second time. He's really tried to keep it in on this lap. But that time round, we basically did what a lot of the AI have done to me in the past. I completely just got so wide and just completely squeezed them out of there and went very aggressively to maintain this race lead. But he comes and keeps on knocking. This time on the inside, we try and squeeze him, but he's got the nose. We have to leave him some space there to work with. We're going to feather the throttle, try and come across wide. And yes, we've done that on the racing line. And now, oh, out of nowhere, Sainz has overtaken him. How's that happened then? I think Verstappen must have got on the curb or something like that, because I gave him plenty of room to work with. So, for whatever reason now, he's been caught out in turns 2 and 3. And Sainz, the home favourite, is up into P2. And he's going to have the home crowd cheering him on, trying to overtake me for the race lead. Maybe we go as defensive as we can to the inside, get back to the racing line. But he's right up our chuff here. And we've gone a little bit wide. And he gets the nose in. He uses plenty of overtake mode, I'm sure. We use some late on into that right-hander. We give him a good old squeeze to the inside, but he's not playing chicken. He's just going to keep his foot in, and Sainz powers past us, and meanwhile, yellow flags behind us. Verstappen, he's out. Max Verstappen is out of the Spanish Grand Prix. That is such a shame for him, for our team as well, because we've had bulletproof liability so far. You know, we've had Sainz for the DNF before, Leclerc DNF last episode, but this is the first crack and the first chink in our armour as a team, as Verstappen is out. And Sainz has got me fair and square there. He caught me napping kind of somewhat, went a little bit too wide in those corners we're battling him with, and he just kept his foot planted. That Red Bull's got so much downforce there, and so it looks like he may just have this. I don't know if I have much to answer. And now into the last few laps of this Grand Prix, the clouds are coming over. The rain is on the way here at Spain finally, and Ocon is coming at me at a rate of not. That McLaren looks so quick now in a straight line. What's going on here? He's just done me to the inside. We tried to battle him in the corners, but just don't have the ultimate grip, and so Ocon has just overtaken me fair and square in the McLaren for second place. And you can see Sainz, he's already 3 seconds up the road, so he's really gone away. But this may be why, as we look later into that lap, I actually checked my heads-up display. My engine is a little bit worn here. The internal combustion engine, I think part of the control electronics, as well as maybe the MGUH or K. I can't quite tell from here how zoomed out my commentary box is to see the exact numbers. But my engine a little bit worn there, so that may be why Ocon looks so quick in a straight line. As we got another retirement in the last sector. I think that was Jack Aiken. I think that is one of my previous teammates from Season 1. So we're basically having to settle now for P3, but we've also got this very odd situation where Ricciardo's closing in slowly and the rain is on the way. The clouds are here, and slowly but surely onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, the rain is here. You can see the droplets streaking off the halo and the chassis. So it's time for intermediates. If this race went on any longer, we would be pitting this lap for inters, but we've got to just firm it and continue on. But it means I am going to be susceptible to that man right behind me, Ricciardo. The AI are so good and overpowered in these conditions, whereas I'm like here struggling, trying to hold this car through in a straight line. The AI are obviously computers. They're perfect, pinpoint most of the time, unless they make some calculated AI mistakes. You know, usually they're just perfect in these conditions, so I've got to really try and wrestle this car through, but you can see how slow I look, and into this next brake zone goes so wide. I tried to brake at the same point I usually do, didn't work out. Ricciardo's down the inside, we're skating, both of us are now got rear end squirming, but Ricciardo on the last lap, he's trying to do us down the inside. He's going to push us a little bit wide, and he's going to send us into the gravel trap. He's also gone slow, whack on circuit, try and get the power down, and we go for a half spin. No, it's a full spin. It's a full spin on the last lap. So much drama here at Catalonia. On the last lap, we've spun it. We're in the wall. I've not even been able to spin it around correctly. We have to go reverse gear. It's all gone completely tits up. Norris has overtaken us as well on the 2-stop. Oh, what a calamity. What a missed opportunity this was. This could have been a 1-2, or at least like a double podium. Verstappen retires, and we've just absolutely fumbled the bag here. We could have at least just maintained P3, but as I said, Ricciardo, he went for the dive when I went wide, fair play, but then he pushed me a little bit off circuit. I tried to come back on with too much gusto, I think is the word, and yeah, just got it completely crossed up. I should have been so much more tentative on the throttle, but I think it was a lot more wet in Sector 3 than it was in Sector 1. So that's why I thought I could floor the throttle pedal a little bit more than I actually could have. And in the end, we span it, and then we span it again. Just in this last set, I mean, look how treacherous it is. Literally, you can't get the power down at all. And so in the end, we come across the line very slowly for P5. I mean, what a hectic ending to a Grand Prix, but in the end, a little bit frustrated that we could have got a lot more from that. But the big winners today are Red Bull and McLaren then.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top draw to take the win for Red Bull today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I know it's a bit of a boring answer, but the truth is they simply had the best speed package on the day, and a driver who knows how to take advantage of that. It doesn't matter how much time you spend poring over the stats and planning strategies if you can't keep the pace, and our winner today showed they could do both.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
So there you have it. At the end, it is the home favourite, Carlos Sainz, that wins the Spanish Grand Prix. Ocon in a brilliant P2 for McLaren. Norris will be upset that he's not the one to bring them that kind of success for the first time in career mode in a long while in this save of ours. And then Ricciardo in P3. I mean, it's a checkerboard of Red Bull and McLaren in the top 4. Verstappen out, I'm down in P5, and both Mercedes cars are once again outside the points, but today both Ferraris also outside the point. What happened to Ferrari? Leclerc won the second race of the season in such a dominant fashion. He looked pretty strong in the last few. He only lost the lead in the last dying laps of the Chinese Grand Prix just gone by. What has gone on to their pace? What happened this weekend? I don't know. They don't know, and that's going to be the big question mark now going into the next few rounds. Will Ferrari be able to bounce back? Because Mercedes certainly haven't since their poor start to the season. So we maintain our lead then in every account, but Red Bull now up into P2, Ferrari down to P3, McLaren looking a little bit closer to Ferrari now. So could it become a 4-way fight for the championship, and will Mercedes ever join that fight to make it a 5-way fight? Many puzzling things going on so far this season. It's been mad, but Sainz becomes the second repeat winner. Of course, I was just before, so are we going to see some more repeats, and maybe Verstappen or Leclerc winning the next 1 or 2 races? We'll have to see. Or maybe McLaren. You know, they look very strong in the hands of Ocon on the one stop with us. He looked very, very good, I must say. So that's going to be a bit of a worrying sign for all of us, really, if there's going to be another